Political commentator Scott Reid on these elections. Good morning, Scott. Good to see you. So a lot of powerful messaging over the last 1 month, a short-lived campaign, first-timers as well. Your take on what's at stake here?
Well, we pretty much know the outcome. Doug Ford looks like he's certain to be reelected. I'll be looking for three things. First, how large will Doug Ford's majority be? Because he could be on the verge, depending upon exactly where the numbers land, of an almost historic victory. He could be in 45, 46, 47% of the popular vote. He could be competing for as many as 90 or even more seats in the legislature. These are really large numbers. Second, who's going to come second? Will the NDP remain official opposition? Will the Liberals return to official party status and seize the mantle of official opposition? That battle's been pretty sharply fought. It looks like the Liberals have the whip hand, but we have to see how the votes come in. And finally, I want to see what voter turnout has been like. This has been a slow and sleepy campaign. It's been fought in the winter. There's been relatively low levels of engagement. Not a lot has happened in terms of the numbers moving around. And today, in Toronto at least, it's been poor weather. So will we see a really low voter participation? And if so, who does that benefit?
Absolutely. Let's talk about why this election was called, Scott. The fact that Ford said he needs a stronger mandate. And of course, you spoke of it as well in terms of dealing with Donald Trump's tariff threat. In your view, if that were to be the case and tariffs are to come as of now on March 4th, what sort of a direction do you think the province of Ontario is going to take under this leadership of Doug Ford with maybe a stronger mandate?
Well, what looked like a risk, calling an early election that wasn't really necessary, now appears to have paid off completely. Doug Ford's in a strong position. The issue of Trump and tariffs has not only dogged this campaign in terms of Ford talking about it, but of course we've barely gone a 48-hour cycle without Donald Trump himself inserting the issue back into the front page and headlines. That's benefited Doug Ford and underscored his rationale for calling this election. Where will it leave Doug Ford? It's not crystal clear that much will change. There appears to be a broad consensus over how to compete and how to contrast and confront Donald Trump. He'll have to, as Premier of Ontario, continue to work with the federal government, who will carry primary responsibilities for retaliating to tariffs. But at least Ford will be able to make the argument politically at home that he has a mandate to make any tough decisions and to pursue any policies that he wishes.
Trump threats, of course, big thing for the country, big thing for the province of Ontario. But let's talk about the other issues plaguing the province. We've heard so much talk, for example, on the issue of healthcare, the economy of the province, cost of living for people in this particular area of the country. My question to you being, depending on who comes to power, in this case, it looks like Doug Ford, the changes you think we're going to see in those aspects in Ontario?
I think if you look at the issue of healthcare in particular, affordability is something of an external factor. It's driven by inflation. It's driven by issues like our overall economic strength on a macroeconomic, global, and certainly federal level. So we'll see how those issues unfold, particularly in the face of tariffs. But issues like health care, which the Liberals pursued almost doggedly as a single issue throughout this campaign, I suspect you'll find that Doug Ford is not going to be satisfied to leave himself continuously vulnerable on that front. He's very lucky, frankly, that the tariff issue has dominated as much as it had. Lingering concerns with respect to access to family doctors. 2.5 million Ontarians don't have a family doctor. Officials and experts tell us that could rise to 4 million within the next few years. I suspect you're going to have to see from the province really specific, really persistent action on that. He doesn't want to fight the next campaign or lead to his successor, if he chooses not to run again, the fight on this front. He's going to want to try to address it in some fashion.
And lastly and briefly, we could, Scott, about the impulse, the pulse of the people in the province, how excited or not they are about this particular election, weather, of course, playing a big part. It's cold, it's winter. What's been the interest of the people?
We'd all be very fit if we had the standing heartbeat of the Ontario electorate right now. Nothing happening in the last 28 days appears to have elevated the pulse of voters. Doug Ford started this campaign somewhere between 45 and 50%. of support. That's a big number in politics. He's ending the campaign with somewhere between 45 and 50% of public support. So this has gone according to Hoyle for Doug Ford. And one of the reasons is that there's been low levels of interest and engagement and excitement about this campaign. He wanted a sleepy winter election. He's gotten a sleepy winter election. And all that's really left now is to count the votes and to see how much of a haul he actually recruited.
CTV News political commentator Scott Reid. Thank you for this, Scott.
Thank you.